got a Charlie Mike. Yeah. Let's go.
Yo, welcome back to another episode of the Charlie Mike podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul, and your co-host is William.
Yo, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back. It's so good to be here, coming to you from the Pearland Podcast Studio, located just south of
Where's
Houston,
that?
Texas. Studio. The studio, bro. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
coming in stumbling.
Coming in hot. What's going on, man?
Hey, man, life is good. I'm blessed, brother.
Yeah?
You know, just pecking away. Start of the year, new things going on, trying to figure out what's going on with my wife and I's business. Studio's looking good. There's always things that we're improving. That's kind of what we do in the military, right? Constantly improving our position.
100%.
Man,
You got to get better. If you ain't getting better, what are you doing?
nothing. You ain't green and growing. You're ripe and dying, man. No, I we say that a lot, but if you guys pay attention, you'll see it. You know, you'll see it.
The growth?
the lighting, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
we
mean,
got
just
to.
within the studio, if you follow the show day to
Yeah.
day, or like it's cool, man.
Man,
It's so cool.
got to get better. Got to get better. You notice that accent lighting that we put in here?
Yeah, I did. Look at this guy.
Man, so you know what? Let's go ahead and jump in this interview. We
Cool,
have
let's do it.
we have a special guest in the house today, and we're excited to bring on Pearland's own Jeff Berry.
How
Hi-
are y'all? Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes, sir. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
We'll start off a little bit. Let's tell us about yourself.
Oh, man, I tell you, you want to start from the beginning?
You start.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a long story. Long and
Hey, we
treacherous
got all
story.
day.
Now, I grew up in South Louisiana, and I went to, I was in high school. Got out of high school. I wasn't that guy that was the best student in the world, so it's a long story, but I wound up in the Navy, which was awesome. Did a little bit of work offshore and framing houses, carpentry work before that, and realized, man, this is not what I really want to do the rest of my life. I don't know if you guys have ever had that situation where that light bulb just goes off and said, I need to change direction.
Yeah.
So I did. And so I went back to my dad. I said, Dad, I want to go to college. That's great. How are you going to pay for it? And a buddy of mine, Jeff Grossi, he's passed now, but he goes, hey, man, brother's in town. I said, what does that mean? Well, he's in the Navy. He goes, they can help you with money. So he's a Navy recruiter. Jeff, you have to know Jeff. He was the youngest by 10 or 12 years from his next oldest brother. And so his older brother, Chris, was in the Navy, had been out to the fleet and done all these things. So he's on recruiting duty in Lafayette, Louisiana. He goes, hey, man, let's go talk to my brother. Go out there. And Chris is like, yeah, we'll sign you right up. So I signed up for the Navy and, got my GI Bill all squared away. And, next thing you know, I'm off to Memphis, or San Diego is where I went to. That was awesome. If you're going to go to boot camp, San Diego's the place to do it.
Is it?
Yeah, man. No matter where I hear good things about that side of the
Yeah.
U.S. Well, weather-wise.
Oh, yeah. I hear the weather's nice. That's all you got over there.
The weather was wonderful. The weather was wonderful. But, I know you guys are Army guys, right? So
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Our boot camps were a little different.
Ours too.
But I did that. RTC in San Diego closed now. But anyway, I did that. Spent a little time in Millington, Tennessee, almost a year. And they didn't really know what to do with me, I guess. I'm not sure. But I spent about a year there. And I went to school and did all sorts of different things. And
What were you doing in Tennessee?
That
as a
was
Navy
my
guy?
question.
they
yeah.
have a training center in Millington, Tennessee,
Oh, yeah.
which is about 40 minutes east of Memphis.
Okay.
Right. So strange place for a naval training center,
Hey,
but there are a lot of aviation stuff there.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said Tennessee, and I'm over here picturing the map, the United States in my head. I'm like, wait.
There's no water over
It's
there.
not quite
Yeah.
in the middle of the United States. But no, I spent a little bit of time there and met some wonderful people. It was great. Then when I was done with that, I got orders to go to Norfolk, Virginia. I was attached to Hilo Squadron for 6 months, where I was attending another school. The Navy's famous for schools. I mean, you can spend almost your whole entire first 4 years in school.
Yeah, very
if you want.
technical.
Yeah, if you want to. And then the last 2.5 years I spent at Cecil Field, Florida in Jackson. So I worked in aviation electronics field. We did calibration and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. I met a lot of cool
Yeah.
people. It was definitely a learning experience, you know. So I always tell people, the military is a good option if you don't know exactly what you want to do when you get out of high school. You always know what they want, when they want, and how they want it at all times. There's never a question.
Yeah,
Got a lot of my decision process out of the way.
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does.
exactly.
I think one of the hardest transitions I had was like, what do I wear today?
Yeah.
You still have that problem.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So how long total did you do in the Navy?
I did 4 years.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did 4 years. In 4 years, I did all that in 4 years. Can you believe that?
That's amazing.
And then I got my GI Bill. And what was neat about, we talked earlier about, the fact that you grew up here and then you left and then you came back.
Yes.
Well, I thought, man, when I got out of the Navy, they said, well, you can make any place in the United States your residency, right? And what did I do? Picked Lafayette, Louisiana again.
Mhm.
Yeah,
So I went and got my electrical engineering degree, which is where I met my wife, actually, Charisse. And so I did that. And then I moved here and went to work for Compact Computer.
Compact.
And,
I ain't heard
yeah,
that in a
remember
long
that?
time.
Remember that?
Compact Center, bro.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sure was.
Yeah,
Back
I
in the
did
day.
that. That's how I wound up here in Houston.
Oh,
Wow.
Uh-huh. And my wife had a job at Lubrizol in the ship channel, Bayport, which is, just south. But so we kind of split the difference and, eventually we wound up in Pearland and we've been here for almost 25 years now. We love it.
It's
We
amazing,
love it.
isn't
Yeah, I told you the population sign said 15,000 when we showed up. I don't even want to talk about the number now.
it? That's insane.
It's crazy.
It is. To watch the growth of the city. I know when I left and every time I came back from, like let's say Christmas break, or something along those lines, I was just like, what? Well, this ain't the Pearland I remember. I remember when 101 was a dirt road. My parents live on Bailey Road. And now it's a 4-lane. It's crazy.
Okay, so look, you want to talk about stuff like that. When we moved to Pearland, we built our first house in Silver Lake, which is, Fairway Village 2 was the little name of the neighborhood, and over by Southwick. Magnolia didn't go through there. In fact, it was a dirt road that the contractors used to drive around the neighborhood. It didn't
can imagine.
exist. And then in 2005, traffic got so bad, we said, well, let's go move to the east side of town.
It's crazy. I feel like back when I was young.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the type of Pearland we're in now.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee. Man.
Good times.
Yeah,
good times.
definitely good times.
Yeah.
I graduated here in 2001. And, like I said, when I left for the service, I was like, I just want to get out of Pearland.
Yeah.
And I was leaving the service. Like, I just want to go home, man.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
want to take me back to Pearland.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Pearland. Yeah.
So tell me how the military, your time in the Navy, sets you up to be successful at college. What was that like?
Well, okay, so let me back up a little bit. When I told you I spent about a year in Millington, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was an interesting setup. I went there and I had a school to go to, and then my A school. But while I was on temporary duty, they said, "Hey, you need to go to we need to put you in some sort of class or some sort of training." So they threw me into this 8-week program that was designed for guys coming out of the fleet that wanted to transition into a job that was more technical. It was a math class, and we literally started at 1 + 1. And we in 8
You
weeks.
walk into school, one plus.
No, I'm
In the military, yeah.
I am dead serious.
I imagine.
Yes, and so I go to this class, and I'm like, man, this is crazy. So we went from basic addition and subtraction all the way through advanced trigonometry in 8 weeks. Crazy.
Wow.
It was an amazing time though. And then I went.
So you were going like every day,
That was my
right?
job.
That place of duty, right?
That was my job. Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Anyway, so
insane.
my point is, they really taught me how to learn.
Quickly.
Really, really focus. And I'm not that guy that can sit around all day. And I'm not a reader. I know you are, but I'm not a reader. I read because I have to. Today I read insurance contracts and things of that sort, which is really dull reading. but they're very short, and
It
taught me how to
sounds like it
how
would
to
be
learn.
dull.
Yeah.
No, it does.
And
It does.
repetitive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
so dull. Yeah. Well, yeah,
Gee,
they taught me how to. They really taught me how to study and focus. So that's what kind of
That's like
got
one
me
of the
through college.
things. One of the things that we say a lot, and I try to hit on with vets is like it's not just like your MOS because I was an infantry guy, right, in the Army, and it's not like there's a lot of jobs out there. But all of the other schools that I went through really set me up for this. Like, like reading and resiliency, like all of that, set me up to do the things that I do now. Do you have any experience like that, bro?
yeah,
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, I always just like to. Well, yeah, I don't know. I didn't think about it. You're putting me on the
I'm
spot.
sorry,
That's
man.
the
Yeah,
thing
my
about
wrong
my
interview.
interview.
No, but I think it's important to highlight because we hear someone as yourself referring back to the time in the military. Like, look, this was just an 8-week course, right?
Yeah.
But it set a foundation for me for the rest of my life.
Right,
Sure
right,
did.
right.
Absolutely.
I see that. So you went from compact computers. How did you get into the whole insurance thing?
Long story. So, I was at Compaq and I ultimately left, and I went to I don't know if you guys are familiar with software programming, but I was writing assembly language code, which is the startup for all your computer like server systems, and took a job doing the same thing for another company closer on the southwest side of town in Bel Air. And about a year into it, they decided they were going to move the whole office to Boca Raton, Florida. And thinking that's great. That's great. I want to go to South Florida, have a good time. My wife was no. I love her to death, but it was a no. So I'm like, okay, great. Well, fortunately for me, an opportunity came up. Guy says, hey, we're looking for a sales engineer, someone to support our sales, guys in the field and stuff like that. Great. So I took that job and was calling back on the same people I worked with, at Compaq, which was HP by then.
Yeah.
And anyway, I was doing, I worked with them. I worked with HP, Dell, IBM, all over Texas, and once that in early 2000s, we had the technology crash and stuff like that. So things got a little tough. Our company wanted me to move to one of our other manufacturing facilities, which was fine for me. And so I go to my wife and say, hey, what do you think about moving to Atlanta? She goes, no.
Okay.
How about Colorado Springs?
Hey, Colorado Springs.
No.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful. It was, I used to go there at least once a week. And then I said, well, what about Milpitas, California? No. I said, well, honey, that's all of our options. I said, we need to consider moving to one of these locations, and she goes, no. So anyway, long story short,
Try again. Try again.
Very powerful word.
Complete sentence.
Only 2 letters.
Yeah.
But anyway, so my family was in the insurance business for the longest time, since 1903 in Louisiana. And so I thought one day, I told my wife, I said, I'm going to go into the insurance business. And this was about 6 o'clock in the morning. She goes, okay, honey, whatever. I think you'll be great. That's how it started. Once I got her support and I knew that she felt like, she could support me in doing something entirely different. Who would have ever thought I would be in the insurance business? But nobody ever, sets out to be in the insurance. Boy, it's not something that people necessarily aspire to do. So many people just wind up there. But anyway, so that was in 2005. And been in the insurance business ever since. I was a farmer's guy for 11 years. Spent time there, and that's how I know all the guys around town, and all over Houston and whatnot. And about 7 years ago, I went independent, and it's been great ever since. We work with a lot of construction companies. That's kind of our main forte. We do some manufacturing and a little bit of oil and gas here and there. And we do home and auto. We have about 10% of our book of business is personal. So we have a pretty good mix, and we do a few employee benefits here and there, So it's a good book of business. So I enjoy it. I love it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's good.
Still like it to this day.
Oh, you still like it?
I still like it.
Yeah.
I look forward to going to work every single day. I really do.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Makes a big difference.
Yep.
It does. So, So you've been in Pearland. You said 25 years,
Almost 25.
almost 25. What tell us a little bit about how did you get into the whole politics part?
I didn't get into politics.
Hmm.
It got me.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
No, honestly, my wife and I, we went through our own struggles, personally, and realized that we couldn't have kids and whatnot, and so we've really dedicated our lives to education, and that was really the biggest thing for us. So we said if we're going to be here, we need to make a difference. And so I started working on different things. Back in 2007, I got involved with the Northern Missouri County Education Alliance. Still am involved with those guys today, and they do workforce development, workforce training for kids. And if you've never really understood the makeup of a school system, it's actually rather interesting. So the top 40% are going to go and get some sort of college degree. And then the next 50% are going to be those individuals that need to have some sort of skill or a trade. And then the bottom 10% are those that just don't want to be there anyway. But you still have to teach them, and they still have to graduate and so on and so forth. You can affect 60% of all the students in Pearland ISD or Alvin ISD or wherever, through the Northern Missouri County Education Alliance. You can train them. They can earn a living wage when they're done, they're certified, whether it's welding, construction trades. Amazing organization. So I've done that, and I worked with. I was on the board for the Adult Reading Center, so training adults,
Mhm.
that wouldn't otherwise, have the skills that they need to be able to read and things of that sort. So amazing organization also. And time goes by, and I was asked to be the chairman, the founding chairman of the Education Foundation here in Pearland. And I remember when John Kelly was a superintendent back then, he goes, I want to talk to you. So we're sitting down, we're talking, because I was engaged with him, because I was chairman of the NBCEA at the time. And he goes, I want to talk to you about starting the Education Foundation. And I'm thinking, man, they tried to do this a few years ago, and it didn't really work out very well. Or you setting me up for a failure here, So that's kind of what was going on in the back of my mind. But, me being the person I am, I said, absolutely. What do you need me to do? He goes, I need you to be the chairman. I need you to build the Education Foundation. I'm like, so what do we do? How do we start? Who do we talk to? I knew it was all about raising money and talking to various people and, engaging with people and getting them on board. And so we did that. We got a board of about 25 people in Pearland. And, the Education Foundation in Pearland is engaged in creating, raising money for grants to teachers in the classroom. We've always heard, teachers say, I'm tired of spending my own money, for creative teaching ideas in the classroom. And we say creative teaching ideas because that's what their grants are for. But the teachers apply for certain grants. And we've done grants for gardens, things of that sort, for kids in elementary schools, and all the way to technology robotic programs. So anything that a teacher feels like that they can, move their educational process along with, great. Apply for it. And originally, I think our max was $5,000. I'm not sure what the maximum is today, but that organization has grown tremendously, and I'm very proud of that. And so I was engaged, right? I was engaged. And so once I did that, then I was asked by City Council to get onto the Economic Development Corp. So I got involved with that, and I really enjoyed that. So I got to see the education piece, and then I got to see the city piece, and it was interesting, right? Government always has fascinated, right? If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. It's kind of the way I look at it, and that's how I rationalize things in my mind, So so I did that. And then one day a position came up. Pam Beegler, I don't know if you remember Pam Beegler, was on the school board. She said, look, I'm not running for re-election. We need somebody to run in my place. Well, I said, okay, let me try it out and see what happens. And that's what happened. Once I got on school board, that was in 2016. Once I got on school board, I had to relinquish my position on the Education Foundation, and I also had to relinquish my position on the Economic Development. So,
Mm.
so I kind of downsized, but I had more responsibility. So that's how it happened. And then, from there, I was on, school board for 6 years and really enjoyed it and learned a ton about public education. And then I ran for city council in 2022 and recently had to come off of that because I running for state rep, District 29. So,
Do you think that your time in service influenced your, willingness to continue to serve your community?
absolutely. I mean, look, just because I needed to be able to fund my college, my degree, didn't mean that I didn't have a passion to serve. Look, you have a passion to serve. You're in the military or whatever it is. I'm in the insurance. That is a pure customer service experience. It's been almost 20 years that we've been in that business. So I've been serving, my country or people around me for over 20 years. 25 since I've been in Pearland. And I enjoy it. And the military, my military background has given me the fortitude to actually stick with it. Build a mission, accomplish that mission. And if you have a large mission, break it down into smaller pieces and accomplish those smaller pieces. And I think that played a large role in my success. You may think I'm successful. I still think I'm working.
You sound like a military man to me.
I mean, I think that's the part that sets you apart. I think a lot of us, and that's what the military offers too. This starts to sound like a military campaign, but truly, at the end of the day, we're all growing the rank structure. Trying to get up, go a little further, and it seems like you're doing the same thing now within your life. Like, okay, what's the next thing? Not that you're looking for, but what if it presents itself? This is what I'm going to take for it. Continue to work on yourself. So
I agree.
It's amazing.
So we're gonna get back to the politics side, but I want to ask you, what I know that you run your business, but you're also really connected with your faith. How is it that you stayed so strong? I'm not sure what I'm trying to ask.
No, it's good, bro. I think you're on the right path. How do we make sure that our faith coincides with our business? Is that right? Like that?
Yeah. I think that's
I think our business coincides with our
How do we
faith.
make a business?
Right. If we think about it a little bit, you have to have a strong faith and a belief in something, right? My belief in Christianity and the Bible, and making sure that I'm on the right path, and believing that someone else of a higher power has already defined the path. My goal is to figure out what that path is and stay on it. So, have y'all ever heard of an organization called C12?
I have.
You have?
I haven't had any. I have not had any contact with them or anything like that, but I have heard of them.
Well, so I don't know, and I'm not necessarily plugging anything or anything like that, but that I joined that organization a couple years ago, and I've taken a hiatus actually right now, just campaign. But that's an organization that builds leadership through biblical purpose. So various owners of businesses can get together once a month, and you talk about leading your business from a biblical standpoint, and that's what you talk. You spend a whole day talking about stuff like that. And throughout my whole entire career, I've always fallen back on my faith, right? And this kind of gave me a little bit more structure around it, because we talk about, you were talking earlier about reading the Bible and Samuel and all this stuff. It always has a way of having meaning in your current day, right? I mean, it's amazing how that just shows up and it shows itself. But that's part of the path, right? It's not our path. We have to give. It's not my business either, right? It's his business. So when I leave,
I wanted just to swing by and touch base on that, because I know William speaks real highly with faith and business, and and being, true to your faith, as well as, I guess, your business represents your faith represents your business
Yeah, there you
tactic
go.
and technique.
hmm
And
How you
so,
approach it. How
ex-
you approach it.
there you
I
go.
agree.
Yeah, and I see that. I saw that in you, and then reading into you and on you, and then I see a lot of Williams resemblance.
It's all out there with you.
Yeah.
I'm okay with. I mean, I've been more and more open about it too. Recently, I just joined the vestry of our church. I
Okay.
was commissioned like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's coming about, and I thanks for the question, Raul, because for me, it's like staying curious about how do we, and I'm sure there's plenty of you listeners out there that are on the same path that trying to figure out, hey, I'm either in the military or I'm not, or I just got out of the military, and how do I, do what's right, um, live a good life, but also, I've always had this Christianity thing in the back of my mind, and like I want to be closer to that. The best thing I can do for y'all is just encourage you to get involved, just like we say with the veteran organizations, get involved. So either get involved with your church or start reading. Like a couple of years ago, a friend of mine invited me to do a prayer group, and so we've been doing that for 2.5 years, Merrick. We've been meeting every other Friday for 2.5 years now,
Good for you.
and it comes into our lives. I mean, Raul and I, we're pretty open people, and we were having a conversation, and it was a difficult one. And I told him, like, my prayer for this day is to be like, Lord, help me see Raul as you see him, because I don't want to come into this relationship angry or leave this relationship angry. And just saying that prayer like changed the entire day for me, and sitting on that. And I see you as an example of that too, like hearing more about your story. So thanks for that question. It's there, and we're under the, we talk about sobriety too, and not being afraid to go there. And I think that's kind of where we're at too when it comes to our faith. We're not afraid to go there. Whatever your faith may be, lean into it, because it really helps you on that transition out and the next steps you got to take.
I agree.
That so throughout your time in public service, as of right now, what is one thing that you can honestly say that you're proud of that you've done? Like, you look back on your life in moments and you say, I did that.
Well, I mean, I is a
Yeah.
kind of a bad word.
I like that already. I
Yeah.
was gonna judge you on your answer.
I'm sure you were.
Good enough.
You passed.
You passed.
Yeah.
Next question.
Okay. Check.
Yeah, well, think about it. You're in the military. You're part of a team. When I was in high school, I was in our high school. We won the state champ baseball, and that was the very first inkling that I had of being on a team, because you can predict exactly what everybody else on that field is going to do before they, and that's cohesiveness, and that's being part of being a team. And so when you come to, I talked about the Education Foundation. I was one of 25 on school board, one of 7 plus a super. But city council, one of 7. So it's not about, in my life, it's all, building relationships is the most important to me. And, because you never know, you need to, work with this individual or work with that individual, because a team can accomplish a goal in a much more efficient fashion than you trying to go alone.
Mhm.
Being the Lone Ranger is no fun. And if you can have a team to help you, alleviate some of those pressures and assuredness. Sometimes, I own my business with my wife, right? And before my wife came on board my business, I just wish a partner to, bounce ideas off, and this, that, and the other. Then when she came on board to work with the agency, I'm like, I've got that partner,
Mhm.
So I felt like it's always been a lot better. But I've always been part of a team. I enjoy I enjoy building consensus. I enjoy, building good policy for various things, whatever it is. and I'm not talking just political, because how many times have you ever been, part of a situation where you have to make a decision quickly, so you make the decision, and the next thing you know, everybody's like, "Man, that was a bad decision.
Oh yeah.
Why did we do this and why did we do that?" Hey, well, so I'm not saying that those things don't happen. I like being part of a team and building consensus to accomplish big, and that's just kind of how I view the world.
Mhm. Reminds me of that proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go as a team.
Yeah, well, that's very good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like it.
And one of the you mentioned making a decision. One of the things that I've noticed, working with veterans and military influences, we're not afraid to make a decision.
No, we're not.
What do they say? A violently executed plan today is better than a good plan executed next week.
Mhm.
It's all about right now. And at the end of the day, what I love and what I hear from you too is like, I'm okay to make that decision,
Yeah,
and then we can adjust from there because I have my team around me to do that.
absolutely. Well,
Yeah, with the way politics is now in the world, I guess is it's a tough thing to be part of.
Well, politics is a nasty business today, and I don't necessarily appreciate Washington, D.C. and the way they're so polarized because, again, we're people, and people need to be able to work together in some form or fashion. Some have an R, some have a D behind their name, some have an I these days, and that's all fine too. But at the end of the day, we need to make decisions based on what's the best thing for everyone, not just the R's and the D's. And it's a shame it has to be that way, but as a society or a political society, we're just too polarized. It's very discouraging in some cases, and I hope that from me being engaged and being involved, that people can see that the decisions I make are more for the greater good than ours or so. That's all I really focus on.
I think there's a lot to be said within the gray area.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, you do have the polar extremes, but we're trying to get, like you said, the middle of the folks to one, get out and vote, and two, to realize like these decisions affect all of us. We're not trying to pick sides. I'm just trying to do what I think is best for my upbringing.
That's right.
And from what you were telling me, and I think that's a big thing. At the end of the day, even the last turnout for these the runoff for Pearland, the numbers were low.
Very low.
So you're talking about 10% of the people of the population making the decision for
Way less than 10%
yeah,
in that one. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so it's like you can feel how you want it, and when it comes to politics, but at the end of the day, your vote does matter. Otherwise, you don't vote. You don't have anything to say about it. Um,
I
because
agree.
that number was really shocking to me when it's like nobody goes out there and vote. I'm an early voter. I'm like, I'm gonna go get it out of the way.
I think people are just so discouraged because they think that their vote, and when we do have small turnouts, their vote matters even more. You know, it's a powerful thing. When I grew up, it was important. Your voter registration card, that's important. I think maybe we've lost sight of that to a certain extent. People busy. I hear that word all the time. Busy,
Mhm.
busy. Take a step back, reevaluate.
I feel like for a lot of us in the military or as veterans now, like there's a path for us to get involved. Whether it be serving the city or I mean, Laney talked about it last time on our podcast. Joining one of the committees.
Mhm.
And I think it's a powerful thing because we only serve, not only that we serve, but we earn that right to do so. And I mean, we're leaders.
Yeah.
As veterans, we lead the community.
Yeah.
You have that influence. You have that honor. Like, express it, share it, let others know. Like, yeah, I voted. Are you voting? So you don't have to tell me who you're voting for. It doesn't
Yeah.
bother me.
Yeah.
I just want you to go vote.
Right. I'm with you. I mean, I wish we could get more and more people to vote, and it's important. But you talk about getting on committees. It's one of the hardest things to do is to get people on just apply for these committees. There's a couple of committees that people want to be on sometimes. When I was on council, we're constantly shuffling around trying to pick. we need people for this committee. This committee is also important. We need people for that committee, and we need people for parks, people for this and that. It's hard to get people to volunteer their time. It's important that they do.
It's a lot of things that you stand for and you speak about, you know, I see in myself. So one, of course, your military service, you know, you're now some of the things you're standing on with, as far as your political side. So with the current administration and of course, the things that are happening in Texas currently, what are your thoughts on that? As far as I know, you know, border security and what I know, this isn't a political podcast, but these are things that I feel are important to speak about, especially with the threats that, you know, Texas has been receiving from Washington. What are your thoughts on all that?
I think we're making all the right moves. We need to protect our sovereignty in the state of Texas. It's up to us to protect our sovereignty. It's apparent that Washington is not necessarily focused on that at this point in time. For what reason, I don't. But we hear a lot of different things about cities, you know, have all the big names, New York and Chicago, and they're bursting at the seams because they have 100,000 or 120 people that we those areas, and they're sanctuary cities, and they should, and they're admittedly so sanctuary cities. So, you know, we should feel, or they should feel obligated to take on, you know, those, you know, individuals because we can. You know, think about the towns, the small towns along the border, you know, like Far and all these very small towns that are getting inundated with people coming across the border, and I feel for them. Not to mention the fact that I spend a lot of time in Valdez and South Texas, and just because I like to hunt and things of that sort, I love that area. But you know, there are high-speed chases almost every day. A farmer or rancher's fences are getting demolished every single day. Who's helping them fix and repair these?
Right.
Very expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking thousands of dollars just to get a repair done. And some of these ranchers have cattle that they use to make a living with, and so on and so forth. So, you know, vegetable farms are getting ruined because of some of this stuff. So, kind of have to take a look at the bigger picture. The border needs to be controlled, but when you look at the border and take it for what it's worth today, and we all know, you know, we have a leak in the pool, so to speak. But think about our health and human services, you know, about our hospital systems and things of that sort, that you don't hear those guys, you know, on TV every single day saying, we don't have room, we don't have the staff, we don't have beds. But I know that exists. I know that that's out there. And I know that, you know, if we have a human being that needs health, that we need to service those human beings. And if we're overrun and we don't have hospital beds or doctors or nurses, all that's a problem, you know? So the border is a much bigger problem than than most people give it credit for. There are some repercussions associated with so many people. And it's sad. I hate to see people sleep on the streets. It's terrible. Just absolutely terrible. You know, it's not how you treat people.
It's not. Well, there's a right way of doing it.
The right way and the wrong way.
There is.
Yeah. You know, there's another vet that I've been following lately. You know, Patrick Bet-David, right, from PHP. He owns a business called PHP. People helping people, insurance, life insurance, great. And that's one of the big things he's been talking about a lot lately too. And he's a military veteran, and he just simply stated, like, you know, I think there's so many opportunities within America that we should be screening people before they come in. You know, you should be coming in with the right reasons. And honestly, I tend to lean the same way, and I don't want to say all veterans do that too, but for us, we just see things a little differently because we served, right? You joined because you saw of the benefits. You didn't have to, right? And it's the same thing with like coming to America. You come into America because of what it represents and
Right.
what it offers. You don't have to, but the military has a selection program to go through, right? And we've all been through that. We all earned it. And there's a lot of little things being a veteran gives you, not just leadership skills, but I mean, we were talking about some of the other perks and benefits, the taxes and veterans preferences. We earned that, right? I see
Yeah.
America be the same way. You earned that by coming here to become an American. There's a lot of things, there's a lot of possibilities. We talked about the American dream, all the things that you can do here. We should be selective with it. But love me, hate me. That's kind of how I feel too.
I'm
Same side.
I'm the same boat, man. I'm all U.S., but I'm all Texas too.
Somebody, everybody draws this analogy of your home, right? Someone knocks on the door, and I've been knocking a lot of doors lately, and I know this, but just let anybody in your home.
Right.
Texas is our home, so we need to protect it.
100%. Another thing that you speak real highly about is the protection of our children with big tech. Us being fathers of little girls, especially, it's out there. It's a horrible thing. What are some of the ideas that you have to help or deal with that situation?
Well, it is out, and there are predators every single day out there trying to get to your sons and daughters every single day. And so some of those things that we probably need to focus on is restricting social media to, maybe age ranges and things of that sort. I don't really know where we go with that because it's more of a federal issue, but I just want to raise awareness of the issue and that I'm paying particular attention to, because if there's anything that can be done about it, I'm certainly going to be all in on making sure to protect our kids. Human trafficking is also a big issue in the state of Texas, and everybody talks about the border, not just the border. It's everywhere.
Houston is real bad.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know the statistics associated with it, but how do these people engage with them to begin with? Could be social media.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I've been on social media a lot lately.
You got to be. Yeah.
I have to be, and
Yes.
it's very it's a disturbing platform
it is.
to me. But next thing you know, you're sitting there and a message comes up. Hey, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know.
Mm-hmm.
Who are you? And so that's weird. People shouldn't have the ability to do that or stalk people online. That's what I kind of do. So we need to really control, and I think Congress really needs to step in, and they need to regulate our social media platforms. I know they talk about the First Amendment protections associated with that, but we hear about it all the time, how social media platforms are regulating data that's being put out there, and who's making that decision for me, right? And I disagree with that. I want to make the decision for myself. And if it's a platform that I don't have kids, but you don't want your children to be on, then you have every right to say, no, you're not going to be. So it's a very disturbing situation.
I agree with you. I really do. I think it's difficult because I have a 13-year-old daughter, and I just took her phone away recently, and she's I cut her off completely. But so it's difficult. But on the other end of me, I almost feel like, should I have? This is just me being devil's advocate. Should I have some? The government telling me what my child can or cannot do? If I was on that side, I'm just playing.
That's the argument.
If I wasn't on that side where my kid was on socials, and I say it's okay, then it should be okay. But I do think there's a lot that needs to be done when it comes to like education. I don't think there's enough out there that says whether it's good or bad. I've seen stuff both ways, right? I've seen kids go on to be entrepreneurs and do really well when it comes to making content. But of course, there is always that hidden danger on the other side of it. And that's what scares me more. And that's why I've made that decision to say, no, you're not going to be on socials at all or even have a phone, to taking control of that. So I think maybe there's more of an awareness campaign of like the hardships. And folks out there are doing a good job. I
Yeah.
guess I would just kind of challenge that. Like,
No, I
do we
agree.
really need the legislation to say, hey,
It's
should they
a-
not?
And I'm for small government.
Mhm.
I don't like government intrusions and telling me what to do and things of that sort. So there's a part of me that agrees. I mean, I think there are a lot of people out there that are conflicted. But think about this.
Mhm.
When we were younger, go to school, we have an altercation or a disagreement with another person on the playground. We would just go fight it out, and then we're done. Next thing you know,
Yeah.
we're best friends.
those
The-
Like,
days.
right?
Hey, the
We're-
good old
the
days.
good
good old days. But today kids don't have that luxury. They have cyberbullying out there. So they go to school and they're bullied at school potentially. And then they go home and they're continued to be bullied via social media and things of that sort. So, it's very traumatic for younger kids, to go through that. It's a constant barrage of negativity. And I'm very sensitive to that. So
Do you think that maybe it would be a different avenue to go to the schools and say no phones in school, rather than hey, trying to get after the obviously you said that's a federal thing, so trying to get after the tech levels. Do you think that there's a way for maybe parents to get involved, maybe the cities to get involved, to say we don't want phones at our schools anymore? Because honestly,
I think that's reasonable.
truthfully, in the last couple of weeks, my daughter hasn't had her phone for the last month. And we got a note from her teacher that said she's been doing really good in school.
Oh,
She's been leading classes, and they wrote us a letter. They wrote us an email to tell us that. The only thing I can really attribute that to, the only big change that there's been in her life, she doesn't have a phone. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
no, I have no problem with it. I think that's responsible. If kids are going to go and they're going to be in the classroom, their main objective is to learn. And why are they if they're being distracted, or if a teacher can't, maintain their classroom or control their classroom to the point where kids are on their phones, that's a problem. So I don't have a problem with it, but there are others that do. I'm probably on the minority.
I guess both of us.
When you spoke a lot about education and education policies and things of that nature, it's a weird world we're living in right now with the whole quote unquote woke, and how do we deal with that and keep that out of our schools?
Well, the State Board of Education controls our publications, our schools, our curriculum, textbooks, and stuff like that. So those guys are out there monitoring the types of textbooks. It's almost impossible to keep, people from, having an opinion,
Right.
right? So social influences need to stay out of the classroom. And I really don't care what kind of social influence that
Yeah.
might be. I don't care if it's a bobblehead on a desk that's of a political nature. Don't really care whose bobblehead it is. It shouldn't be in the classroom. So we should not, apply or infer through our banners or flags or bobbleheads within a classroom from a teacher standpoint. We shouldn't infer political alignment. I just really think that needs to happen. So schools are challenged right now, and it's a big deal. Our teachers don't have control of the classrooms. When you have 30 kids in a classroom, you teach. How can one teacher teach to 30 kids in a classroom? Very, very, very difficult.
Especially when you talk about the numbers you said earlier, the top 40%, is that correct? And then you've got the other 50, and then you got the 10. So you've got, even within, I can't do math, but even within 30 people, 15, yeah, sorry.
Think about that.
15 are, probably your welders. And then you got, whatever the other number was, like 12 or so, that would be your high performers. And you still got some that are on the low end. your one style isn't going to meet everybody. Even for me, it's challenging. I've got 4 kids. I got to be a different dad to each 4 kids. You know, they're different ages. They're different. They've had different dads the entire time. They're different versions of me. You know,
Yeah.
as I grow and get better. So it's a real challenge for teachers.
It's a challenge for teachers, and teachers kind of have a bad rap right now because of this class size. And think about it. You know, we have a problem at our border with people coming in. Where do those kids get educated? They get educated in our public schools, and our public schools have no choice but to bring them in because they're required to educate every student. They don't have they can't ask them whether or not, you know, for immigration papers or anything like that. All they need is an address within the district, and they can go to that school. And so we want to make sure that we have an educated workforce, and we want to make sure everybody in the United States of America is educated in Texas. All those individuals coming over the border have to get educated somewhere. And it's put a huge burden on our public schools as well. So we need to take our public schools back.
Yeah. So let's touch base. We talked about education and we talked about a couple of things. The border. I want to talk a little bit about fairness in sports. Sir, I didn't mean to call you man, but it's gotten a little ridiculous, and we have school age children. We have kids that are in elementary. I have a daughter who plays volleyball. You know, and he has a daughter who plays softball. And I don't know how I would feel if my daughter was playing against a man. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, we have boys and girls, and those sports are separated for a reason, because there are unfair advantages for men versus women. And I know some people don't like to hear that, but it's true. You know, the strength associated with certain men opposed to the same age of female is better. You know, we can see that with, what's her name, the lady that's the swimmer that was from Kansas or whatnot. But anyway, she's very vocal about. Yeah, she's very vocal about this guy that was, you know, felt like he was needed to identify as a female and or was transgender. I don't know when it was, but I think he was identifying, and it's just not fair.
It's not.
You know, I mean, and for them to hold records, things of that sort, it's not fair. It's not the right thing. So, you know, when it comes to stuff like that, you know, you fall back to our Christianity, you know, what's the right thing to do? And so people know what,
Right.
they really, and let's just be honest, they're choosing not to do the right. And so I will lend this lesson. This lesson is my dad used to always tell me this. He goes, son, you're going to do the right thing whether you like it or not. And I'd say, what do you mean? Well, you always do the right thing. Sometimes it makes you feel good, and sometimes it doesn't necessarily make you feel good. It may be painful, you know, but you should always do the right thing. And I've always taken that lesson to heart, and that's how I live my life. I will always do the right thing, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. They should too. It's not fair to these young kids to have to compete against boys. Sport designed for women. It's just not fair. Not the right thing.
I agree 100%. And the only thing I ask is because, like, I just couldn't see my daughter playing volleyball against, someone her age, but a male. It just, the power, the strength, things of that nature.
Right.
Like, to each his own, but don't mix the sports and all that.
Riley Gaines.
You know, you brought up our Christian beliefs, especially when it comes to sports, and or not just sports, but when it comes to, you know, men and women. And one of the things I find myself lately is really stepping into the role of the leader of my household. You know, and so the more I'm working and praying, the more I've seen my family get stronger together, right? And there is a clear difference and how we do things, and I believe the more we lean into, you know, our beliefs, who we are, doing what's right, that everything else will shake out in, you know, in our schools and stuff. Because I don't, although I don't agree with males participating in female sports, and I think all of that we have to take a look at how we're leading our homes first before we can look at how we lead our school. That clear? Yeah?
No, that was pretty
Okay,
good.
good. Woo.
Yeah. Hey,
That was same. I just see the parallels. I see lots of the parallels, and and if we're thinking about our audience right now, all you out there listening, all you vets, and this, at the end of the day, majority of our listeners are males. Majority of them are veterans. You have to lead your home. If you want to see these things shake out, and that's what we want for you too, and we want you to be able to see that. Right here with Mr. Jeff as
And you
well,
remember,
what he's doing.
when I was a kid, the teacher was the second most authoritative figure in my life.
yeah.
Because if I acted up in school, it reflected. I got paddled back then, but then I'd get paddled when I got home. I mean, but that's neither here nor there. I have this idea of this, teachers pact with parents. I think that parents and teachers ought to sign a pact with each other to say that I'm going to treat your son and child, I'm going to educate your child, I'm going to keep my child safe while they're in my care, custody, and control. And teachers ought to sign the same pact saying that I will trust you to take care of my child while they're in your care, custody, and I will allow you to be that authoritative figure. So I think it goes both ways.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things that I talk about with my kids is like, school's not for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked about the top 40%, the 50, and my kids may be somewhere in there, obviously. But I don't want conduct marks. And I don't want you disrespecting the teacher, because that I won't stand for. I'm
Right.
good with you getting a D.
Yeah.
Get an F. Hey, you're going to take your punishment. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
there's going to be consequences for that.
Yeah, right.
Not only that, you have to deal with me, but them, and I'll get over it.
Yeah.
But the way you care at home, again, I think that goes right back to, what, you're a veteran, you're a leader, like lead your home first. How do you take care of yourself? How you influence your kids? How you influence your community around you? And then obviously, I think Raul and I both see ourselves a little bit in you. It's like, if we stay true to what we're doing, the path that you're on, the path that you're blazing, is a similar path that we can take for ourselves.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I have a couple more. So
I want to get these.
all right. So how do you plan on reaching out to the community to figure out what the community actually needs? Well, in a way, that's kind of a dumb question because you've been here forever. So
I've been in the district for almost 25 years.
yeah.
And I am engaged, but I do have a huge challenge, right? I've been engaged in this area, and a lot of people in this area know who I am, and I'm going to do much the same in the Alvin area, Manville, and even Liverpool, Brookside Village, Richwood, Freeport, including all these different cities within the district and District 29. And so I have to be just as engaged there as I am here. And those are huge shoes to fill, because Ed Thompson was throughout the district. He was everywhere. He was one of the most engaging individuals that I've ever met. I would love to model myself in that fashion, because the only way that you're going to be able to vote the district, or I'm going to be able to vote the district, is if I know the pulse of the district. The only way to find out what the pulse of the district is to shake your hand and have a conversation. And I believe in that. I believe in that face-to-face communication and shake their hand. Even to this day, when I knock on a door, I reach out and I try to shake their hand. Some people don't necessarily like that. They're saying, "What is this?" But I believe in that. I think that's how I'm going to be able to keep the pulse of it, to be out in the community.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, as much as we spend on social, nothing beats a good conversation.
That's right. That's right.
Right. 100%. With what led you to this? What made you want to run for District 29? What? I know you were doing city council.
I was doing city council, loving it. I just want to. My goal is to always make a difference. I've got to be able to in my heart of hearts, I'm going to leave this place better than where I got. And so if God's calling me to, run for state rep and run for District 29, which is what I felt. I was in a staff meeting, and I'll never forget, every Wednesday morning we have staff meeting. It usually lasts half the day. And my phone started ringing. I turned my ringer off. And then after staff meeting, I go to my emails and I see Ed's announcement that he wasn't going to seek re-election. And then I'm looking at messages saying, hey, I need to talk. And then I just kind of, the more you think about it, think about what I've, the experience that I can bring to the table. And this was a conversation with Sharice, the relationships I've built. How amazing is there's a lot of people that I know in the community that grew up here, that have a ton of relationships. I didn't grow up here, but I've built some great relationships along the way in the experience that I have. I'm a property owner. I own a commercial building. I was on school board. I was on economic development board. I was on city council. All that experience culminated into, if I go to Austin, what happened? Past bills. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody in Austin that understood what the effects of passing those bills would have on us residents, business owners, on our school, on our cities? And so the pieces just fell together. I was just rationalizing it in my mind. And so I have the experience. And through all the years that I've been in various organizations, I have a lot of relationships. And the one thing that when I was talking to individuals before I even decided to run, the one thing that they all said, they said, Jeff, we just need somebody. I feel like you're that guy. We can work. You need to go to Austin. So that's why today, if you look at all my endorsements and stuff like that, they're from people in the district. It's all fine and good. And I have some that are outside the district. Don't get me wrong. But all my money has been raised in the district, and all my endorsements, most of my endorsements from the mayors, county commissioners,
The leaders in the community.
Leaders in the community.
Yes.
And just think about how powerful that is for them to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, Jeff, I don't like this bill, and this is how it's going to affect us. And or vice versa. I can pick up the phone and call them. Look at this bill. How is this going to affect you guys? Can y'all get together and talk amongst yourselves and let me know whether or not we need to support this bill or not? Or do we need to tweak it a little? How can it better benefit the city, county, or the school, or business owner? Is this an unfunded mandate? So somebody that has the experience often can see through a lot of those things, but the relationships are important because times change, right? I mean, I'm in Austin. Maybe, the city's thinking, man, this could be a good thing. We were always thinking about doing blank. It's different, right?
So,
relationships matter.
Definitely. So in my research into you, I noticed that you were endorsed by a lot of leaders in our community and local communities. And that's what, that's means more to me as a voter than you being endorsed by blank blank that has no idea what's going on in this community. And I just, hats off to you.
Thank you very much.
You definitely have.
It's been a lot of work. But it was important to me. If I weren't going to get those endorsements or at least have the support of those individuals, I would not have. I just wouldn't have, because state representative. I'm a representative. Whether I believe in a particular issue or not, if our district believes in it, then I. So I come across some doozies through walking throughout the district.
I believe it.
Yeah, and so. But I'm a representative, and they can trust me to be able to go out and represent the district. And that's really what I'm all about. It's not about me. We talked about that whole team earlier. You know,
Mhm.
it's about us. It's about our district.
And I see that in you. So that's what I like.
Cool. Well, as we begin to wrap this up, let me finish with two things. First of all, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
my pleasure.
It's been great to talk to you. So, how can someone follow along with you and keep in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. They can just go to my website, votejeffbarry.com, and it's Jeff Barry, Barry. VoteJeffBarry.com, and just put your name and whether you want a yard sign or email in there and want to volunteer. We have a lot of polls from Pearland to Freeport that we need to fill throughout early voting. Early voting starts February 20th to March 1st, and election day is March 5th. So that's the day we're going to all know.
Wow. Yeah. And then, so my second thing is Charlie Mike to us means continue mission. You know, we're always trying to find different ways. What does Charlie Mike mean to you?
Well, my continued mission is just helping my community in whatever way, shape, or form that looks like. I'm going to do that. So if I'm called to our state rep, then I'm going to be our state rep. Otherwise, I'm going to continue to support our community in any way, shape, or form that I can. So
Powerful stuff. Thank you.
Absolutely amazing. And again, thank you for taking the time out to come talk with us.
my pleasure.
I've learned a lot, and and I'm normally, what's funny is I'm normally not nervous like the way I was today. I don't know. I was kind of like, don't want to say anything incorrect.
You want to do a good
all your
job.
papers are upside down now, so I think you got all your
yeah. No, but you guys be sure to follow us on social medias. If you like, subscribe. Be sure to check out my man William on all his social media platforms at Mustache Wisdom, and be sure to follow Jeff Barry. Damn, man, thank you for taking your time again. I appreciate you, and as always, Charlie Mike.
Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? It is me, Soldier Hardwood, Redcon One Music Group, and thank you for listening to Charlie Mike, the podcast. Yay!